The Pewtercast is sponsored by HuntAKiller.com, an immersive murder mystery experience like no other. You can save 20% on your first box when you subscribe by using the code Pewtercast at checkout. And we'd like to thank HuntAKiller.com for their support of the show. Welcome to the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host. This is our Buc in the News show for Week 3. Buccaneers going up against the New York Giants at home, Raymond James Stadium. Ren Daxt is with me tonight. Ren, how you doing over there tonight, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you doing over there tonight, buddy?
I am in pain, as I was telling you a little bit before the show.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot all about that.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Feel my pain? No, I don't. I've actually forgot all about it. We've been putting together a play set in the backyard and spreading mulch and all that kind of stuff. And just
So this is one of those swanky ones. This isn't like a turtle sandbox, right?
No. Yeah, this is like break out the drill and the wrenches and the sockets and get everything put together. We're only about halfway through. It took us all day to do like half of it. So we got another half a day or another day to get the other half of it done. So
should hire a team of Amish, raise that barn.
We actually, that's what we said earlier today. We should call all our neighbors and have ourselves a good old fashioned barn raising. But, so I'm just kind of trying to sit here in my chair tonight and not move and just talk to you.
All right.
That's about it.
So status quo then?
We'll see how it goes. But hey, listen, nobody out there cares about that. What they do care about are the Buccaneers, Ren, and that is what we are here to discuss. This is our Buc in the News show. This is the show where we get to kind of wrap up everything that has happened, all the news bits that has come out of One Buc Place over the course of this last week. Ren, we were looking at it. You and I were talking about it a little bit earlier before the show, and this year especially, it seems like it's getting harder and harder to find the headlines that are coming out like on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, if there's one complaint as a podcaster that does this type of show during the week of BA being the head coach is like there's no drama. Like where's
right.
Where are the headlines? He just sort of like squashes all the questions and fears during the week and, addresses things head on. And I mean, that what we would have talked about that double timeout forever,
Sure. Right.
But he comes out goes press conference right after the game. Yeah, it was really dumb. We won in spite of me. I can't believe I did that.
Right.
And everyone's like, okay.
Right. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. He didn't sit there and be like, I was trying to double,
I got some guy in the headset telling me to do this, and I didn't realize that, Mike called the timeout, and
yeah,
we wanted to see what their formation was. But we only time out, and I thought it was worth the risk to go ahead and move the ball 1 yard closer. I don't know, whatever crap we would have heard.
Right. But yeah, no, you're right. He sort of squashes it. They're just it's weird. So we'll go through that, but that's the idea of this show is that the week is done as far as the Buccaneers are concerned. There's nothing left for them to do at this point but go play the game on Sunday. And so now is the time where we'll take a look at all of that. We're also going to take a look at the transactions and take a look at the roster moves so that we know what's going on with our team. We'll also take a look at our injury report as we start to look towards this Giants game. And the only bit of prediction we really tend to do on the show is predicting the inactives. So we'll try to see who is actually going to be playing.
Our favorite game.
It's our favorite game. It's the thing that Brent, you and I are probably the only two who actually care about it at all.
I think so.
But
no one's out there keeping score. By the way, we're tied.
Yes.
I missed one week 1, and you missed 1 week 2.
Yeah. And it's such a nice feeling when you look up there and you go, oh, I got that one. Dang, missed that one. So it's a nice feeling when you hit them all. You certainly do.
It is. It makes you feel like you could coach the team. Well, obviously, I know my team better than anyone else in this stadium. I picked all 7 inactives.
I picked all 7 of the guys who aren't playing today.
Who aren't playing. They're going to run the ball.
Well, Ren, for this show, we always start off with transactions, so we'll take a look at the transaction report, and it's really, really short this week, and it's almost unnoteworthy. It's just we released a guy off the practice squad. Emmanuel Hall is a wide receiver. We signed a new wide receiver, Amara Darbo, to the practice squad. That's it. Everything else has really stayed the same.
Yep.
Which is good.
Except this is there is an interesting part in here, and I've actually sent a DM to Scott Smith, the senior writer of TampaBuccaneers.com, and then when we had Greg on Tuesday, before we even asked him a real question, I was like, "Can you explain this to me?" Because Scott explained it to me, but I'm not exactly sure if I got it. So Hall is a guy that we picked up late in training camp, and big. All these guys seem to be getting they're big and fast. They're deep ball threats.
Sure.
It's like we're looking for basically what they're looking for. They're trying to find Scotty Miller, but bigger.
Okay, is
what they're looking for with these receivers we're bringing in. So we brought in Hall, right before training camp ended. He stuck around a little bit, and then we've updated to what is it, Darbo Farrow? No,
Amara Darbo.
Okay, so he's upgraded, at least the Bucs staff thing, to Darbo, big guy, 6'2" plus, fast guy, deep threat guy in college type of thing. But he has, quote unquote, 2 years of eligibility. Okay, here's the rough idea as far as practice squad. If you have 2 years accrued in the NFL, you can't be on the practice squad. Now, what does that mean? That means you have to be active for 6 games. If you're active for 6 games in 1 year, that counts as an accrued year.
Right.
Okay, so if you do that twice, you shouldn't be on the practice squad. But apparently there's this rule where you have 4 slots on your practice squad team where you can use for a double secret probation type of player. The point being is normally you would think someone like Darbo wouldn't have practice squad eligibility, but he does. And I thought it was funny. I'm going to paraphrase here. Greg just sort of told us it's a way to keep marginally good players and keep them in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's think of where Ryan Griffin would be if he didn't have that exemption.
Ryan Griffin is practice squad eligible
still.
Oh wait, I don't know.
Yeah, because he has been because if all you got to do is be active, not play. Because as I understand it, the rule is not play. The rule is be active, right?
Right. And he was active, I guess, when Jameis got hurt, but was it for 6 games?
Well, I mean, he was active last year for 3 games with.
That's not 6. It doesn't. It has to be in 1 year.
Has he? I was going to say. I mean, that's.
Actually, it's not that interesting.
No, it's really not. But I mean, at this point with Ryan Griffin, though, this is his 12th year in the league,
Yeah, and and the funny thing was Paxton Lynch just got picked up by somebody.
It's like his 4th year. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Paxton Lynch, the first round draft pick of the Broncos a few years ago. He started some games for them and has kind of bounced around to team, and he just made someone's practice squad. And it's like, what? And this is one of those slot things, and I've never heard of it. But so there's a little tidbit. So if people are into it as much as we are about this practice, how could that guy be on the practice squad? That's the reason why. You can have 4 slots, and about these slots, they never go away or get used up. They're just always there. Right. You don't have to use any, but you can't have more than 4 people
at a time
on the practice squad. The other 6 have to be, filled by quote unquote regular practice squad guys.
All right. That is way more about the practice squad than than we need.
See you next week for another explanation
of the Buc in the News show. No. All right. Well, you just mentioned him, Ren, so let's go ahead and transition into some of these headlines and stuff that we had. Talking about this wide receiver position, one of the spots on our team, the wide receiver is our number 3 wide receiver, Breshad Perriman. Now, Byron Leftwich in what are they called? Press conference earlier this week says that he is not concerned about Breshad Perriman. He says, we're fine. It's not like guys are missing balls or dropping balls or anything like that. I'm perfectly fine with where we are with our 3rd option. Now, Ren, I'm pretty sure that I watched Breshad Perriman drop a few balls in these last couple of games.
I only remember the one.
Was it just one?
I mean, I'm not gonna die on that hill, but
sure,
and it was a tough catch.
Okay,
it was. Sure. It was an easier catch. It was a harder catch than the one that Mike didn't get for a touchdown. Right. No one's sort of blasting that guy.
Well, because he's Mike, we don't blast him.
We don't blast him anymore. he quit dropping the ball, and he doesn't cry on penalty flags anymore.
Right.
So, yeah. This was, sort of flash forwarding to, our inactive list. Name the inactive list, guys. Mm-hmm. Perriman was somebody that I thought that might be on that list.
Really?
Because of how him and Jameis aren't connecting. Let's see, let's get Scotty Miller in there, and maybe like those two connect, and sort of that deep ball threat. They can sort of get that part of the offense going. But, this is twice that Byron Leftwich has come out and sort of defended Perriman. I remember during training camp sometime, I thought Perriman was invisible. And Jameis hit him for 6, 7, 8, 9 throws. And I'm like, oh, there he is. So, it was something I thought about, but once again, after Leftwich came back and sort of gave him his vote of confidence, I think Perriman's going to be status quo among the top 3 receivers for the Bucs.
I would be quite honestly shocked if they inactivated Breshad Perriman.
Yeah, me too.
Because he'd be a $4 million inactive guy.
I shouldn't have said inactive. What I should have said was I was thinking about activating Scotty Miller.
Sure.
And sort of bumping him up the list, giving him some snaps in the quote-unquote Perriman package.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about that, because I have seen a lot of fans talking about that over the course of this past week through various social medias, the different Facebook groups on Twitter or whatnot. A lot of people saying, hey, not really obviously pleased with what's been happening with Breshad Perriman. Why don't we sit him and give our boy Scotty Miller a chance? How do you feel about that idea?
It's something I thought about. It was something that I thought maybe the coaches were thinking about, but sort of in a nutshell, what I just said. Byron Leftwich came out and basically said no, right? And I agree with it. Now, does that mean that? What?
I said I do too. By the way.
Yeah. I mean, sitting him. I misspoke. Well, I didn't, but I should have. That was dumb. What I meant to say was, Scotty Miller sort of gets some snaps in there, and Breshad's spot, like I said, for the deep speed ball, speed depth deep throw ball.
Right.
Coffee. Good.
There you go. I mean, Arians addressed the Perriman situation earlier this week, effectively saying, I don't have the quote pulled up here exactly, but he said something to the effect of, I don't really know what's going on with Perriman. He and Jameis were connecting just fine through training camp and preseason.
They were,
but they haven't been since the season started. So he's like, I don't know what's going on there. I'm okay with bringing Scotty Miller active. I'm okay with maybe giving him a couple of snaps here and there, but from what I remember with Scotty Miller throughout training camp, I don't think that I have seen enough out of him to let him replace. I hate to put it in this term, our $4 million free agent signing this year.
Yes, Scotty Miller came out like gangbusters at the beginning of training camp. Then he pulled his hammy,
right? And
when he came back, he was unimpressive.
Yeah,
he was unimpressive. So
he looked like an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, that was lucky to make the team, quite frankly. Yeah. If he would have played like that before his hammy, he might not have been on that 53-man roster. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a little too early to pull the ripcord, especially after 2 games. And you have to think when Bruce Arians is saying this about Jameis and Perriman hooking up, like Jameis gets to throw in the ball 10, 15, 20 times a practice. Mm-hmm. And in a game, it's down to 5, 6,
Right.
And if you miss on, 2 of those, and it's all of a sudden it's they can't connect anymore. Mm-hmm. But he seemed to be able to connect on that pass in Carolina. He overthrew him in the first game, I know, and then threw him out of bounds in the first game too. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be there, and I'm not really too afraid. That Perriman's going to flame out. I'm not afraid at all, actually. Perriman's going to flame out, and they're going to hook up some plays, and what we'll see is on Twitter the first time it happens is going to be Deshaun Jackson who.
Right. The only thing about Perriman that I'm interested in really watching, and 2 games is not enough for me to make any kind of a decision on, or an informed decision, is Perriman has a history. I think when he was with the Ravens, was that his first team?
Yep.
Of having a little bit of the dropsies. But he went to the Browns, and everything that I heard about him with the Browns was his drop situation got solved. It seemed to get fixed. And apparently the Browns were just fine with sticking with him through the season until OBJ came available.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
like he he had a contract in. I think he signed it.
Yeah.
And then the Browns traded for like OBJ and then picked up Jarvis Landry, and he went, "Guys, can
we forget about that for just? Can we just let that one go?" Yeah, exactly. So I want to see if this rings true. If he really is, this big wide, he basically got signed as a free agent twice this past year.
Yeah.
Right. So like
Antonio Brown.
Right. Except Breshad Perriman is still on a team.
Well, barely. Listen to Bucs fans and us.
I don't know. You were about ready to inactivate him.
I know that was.
That's why I was like, okay, keep talking because you're usually the logical one here, Ren. What's going on there?
I'm telling you, man. I shouldn't be drinking coffee at 10 p.m. at night. But here we are.
Well, why don't we stay in this thread of Byron Leftwich? Because one of the other things that he said was he was talking about specifically Breshad Perriman, but now just kind of with the offense as a whole, just going, yeah, I think the offense is fine. A lot of people, seem to be down on the offense. I think the offense is doing just fine. Thoughts? What do you think about the offense, Ren?
I think the offense is doing just fine. There's a couple of reasons why I think maybe fans are worried about the offensive production. One, last year's offense, they are remembering the first half of the year with the Fitzpatrick back-to-back 400-yard games, and then putting up what we put up 32, even though we lost to the Giants. Put up like 35 against Cincinnati, right. Still lost that game. Put up 28 against Carolina, lost that game. They're used to seeing this offense that's coming out and throwing the ball like 40, 45, 50 times a game because we're getting blown out. But if you remember, after Jameis got benched and he came back, and we used to call him Visor Jameis.
Yeah.
Where he used to manage the game.
Right. We like Jameis with a visor, right?
Yeah.
That was the thing.
I think he threw 7 touchdowns and only 1 interception. But we didn't put up a lot of points, and we didn't win any games. He didn't win any of them. Right. So when you talk about the offensive last year, everyone's sort of thinking about this, hey, we're way behind, we got to chuck it all over the yard type of offense, instead of this, pseudo ball control, run comes first, off play action offense that it's just not going to move at the same pace or look the same as if you're down by 14, 21, 17 points, in the second quarter. And you got to, like I said, start chucking all over the yard. So I still think these big plays are coming. We've already sort of talked about an exhaustion, about the drop with Perriman, about the drop with Mike. Those are very easily catchable balls that a lot of wide receivers would have made. And if those two pulls down those two, then we're trading, that's 14 points instead of 6, and the game's not close. That's sort of the way football goes, I guess. Both teams be the coulda, shoulda, woulda. I mean, if you're the Panthers, all you needed was that 1 yard, and we win the game.
Right.
So, but as far as the offense is, I know it feels clunky because of the penalties, and it's just a different style of offense. Even though we were saying, oh, Bruce Arians is vertical just like Dirk Cutter's, but it is, but it's not as vertical as much, and pretty much because it doesn't have to be because we have a defense.
Right. We're not playing from behind. But see, now you and I were talking about this just a little bit earlier, and I had said, because this offense is a little bit more boring to watch, or maybe a lot more boring to watch, and you kind of took issue with that with me. And my just from the guy who's sitting on the couch eating wings and drinking a beer watching the game, this offense is it's just not as fun as what we were seeing under that Cutter, Todd Monk, especially with Todd Monken calling the plays, where we're, flinging the ball down the field 30 yards, at a shot. And as you say, running up the score. Hey, listen, defense might not be able to hold them, but that offense is doing awesome. That may not be that, but here's the thing. And this is where reality of it is. That's not the best way to play football. Yeah, it might be more fun to watch, but it's not the best way to play football. And it's way more fun to win than it is to rack up a bunch of yards.
Look, this offense with the quarterback we have now and with the coaches we have, we're not going to be the Chiefs and we're not going to be the 49ers, okay? Or excuse me, the Patriots and 49ers. We're not going to be the Patriots. We're not going to be able to put up 33 and kind of toss it all over the yard. I mean, the best thing that happened, like Patrick Mahomes, great player. Don't get me wrong. But Patrick Mahomes would not be the Patrick Mahomes we know now if he didn't have Andy Reid. Drew Brees, I know he's out, but Drew Brees isn't Drew Brees without all the experience he's already had in Peyton Manning, where they can go, it feels like they put up 35 points a game. It's death taxes, Saints score 35.
Sure.
Same thing. We saw the Patriots beat the crap out of the Steelers week 1, like 33-3 or something. But you're talking about the greatest quarterback of all time and probably the best pro football mind of all time that are teamed up. So we have one of those coaches and coaching staff that has that gravitas, but it's basically a lot of people talk about reprogramming Jameis. I don't really think that's fair, but he's 2 games into a brand new offense.
Right.
And we're 1-1. And let's be honest, when I said, like a lot of teams that say this, but really we beat ourselves week 1.
Yeah.
And then the 49ers went out and beat the crap out of the Bengals.
Yeah. To like 11 people in the stands.
I mean, the 49ers moved the ball on us between the 20s. But then we shut them down time after time after time after time. And then they go to Cincinnati and put up 31 without blinking an eye, and it was easy. So I'm excited about the defense. I understand the discrepancy or sort of the or eyebrow raising from fans because of the offense, because what they're used to seeing or remember seeing. But, I just, when you said to me, we're talking about the offense, you're like, it's more boring. And I'm like you're a Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Warren Sapp, Peter and Red fan. Like, remember Tony Dungy's offense?
Yeah, I do. And you know what happened then? The defense was really fun to watch. That's what it was. The defense was really fun to watch.
Weren't you the same guy that came after week 1? You're like, the defense, I don't know. It wasn't splashy enough.
Yeah, it wasn't splashy enough for me. But you know what? Week 2.
I give it a 7. I like the rhythm, but I can't dance to it.
I wish this part was videoed, and I could put that out for everybody to see what you were just doing. I can't describe it, just for decency of humanity's sake. I can't do that. All right, let's move on off of this conversation. Let's go to a fun one. Maybe not fun one. One that I think is probably maybe a little more funny. The NFL apparently has banned pyrotechnics on the field.
Fun.
Like when players are running out on the field and they got, fire shooting up and stuff that you almost never see on TV unless they're showing like a clip of it or something during a commercial promo. Well, apparently, I guess during the Titans game, one of the boxes that shoots off the pyrotechnics started shooting sideways.
It fell over, I think.
It's something. I don't know what it was. But so they said, no, we're not going to allow that anymore, at least until they figure out what happened and have some big investigation. But Brian Ford, talking to Jenna Lane at ESPN.com, wanted to make sure that just Bucs fans should know this does not affect the cannons firing at Ray J. Because one, the cannons aren't on the field, so that's fine. But 2, I don't think they're actually pyrotechnics. Like it's smoke and then like concussion. Like I think that's all it is.
Yeah. I would sort of consider this a non-story and not really want to talk about it until I remember, was it last year or 2 years ago when we went to opening day?
That was last year. This was last year, yeah.
And the cannons didn't work.
Right.
And people were pissed.
Right.
They're like, where's the can? Like, we cross get to the red zone. Where's the can? What's the can? Like, people were upset about the cannons. And I didn't even notice until, the people around us were like, like curse words were thrown about no cannons going off.
Right.
So apparently, different people care about different things, but
it's a thing. But you look over at the cannons, you'd see the smoke like issuing out, but no like kaboom.
Yeah.
So those are two different things, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's like the cannons were smoking a cigarette.
Right. So, Bucs fans just know the new rule won't affect the cannons firing at Ray J. Okay, let's move on to something a little more, Bucs centric. All right, Ren, the big headline of the week. Let's go ahead and just get to it. We probably actually should have led with it. Looking at this Giants game coming up, everyone's heard about it by now. Eli Manning has been benched. Daniel Jones, their rookie quarterback, I think he was pick number 4 or something like that, 4 or 5, 6, somewhere around there in this year's draft. He is playing for the Giants.
Yes, all that is true.
Yes. Now with that, the Buccaneers don't have a really good history with rookie quarterbacks, but turns out Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles do. So, what do we think about Daniel Jones? Is this all of a sudden now going to be an easy game because he's a rookie QB in his first game in the NFL? Like,
I'm really torn. There's a few things to sort of hit on this. One, it's not the Buccaneers have been bad recently against rookie quarterbacks. Mike Smith has been bad against rookie quarterbacks. So we'll take that into consideration. The Bucs really, honestly, if you take your fandom and your fears out of it and sort of look at it, the Bucs, especially what they did last week to Christian McCaffrey, the Bucs should win this game by 2 scores, somewhere between 10 and 14, around in there. They really should. Now, is a part of me afraid that Daniel Jones is going to come in and throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns? Yes, it is, because I remember the Case Keenum Rams game, and I remember the Case Keenum Minnesota game,
right.
And I remember the Simeon from the Broncos game, and I remember these games where it's like, okay, the Bucs defense can get after this rookie quarterback or sort of this no-name guy or second string guy. Their starter's gone, and it just blows up in our face. It's not even close. Like, they blow us out. It's totally the opposite. So, and then of course you got Barkley, who even though has played really well early this season, they don't have any wins. So I have seen a couple of people come out and say, like national writers, pundits, talking heads, say that Daniel Jones is going to win this game and throw for 300 yards.
I saw that too. Yeah.
I do not think that's going to happen. Could it happen? I really want to be one of those people that's like, no way, you're crazy.
Right.
And watching this defense's first 2 games and looking at the Giants, receiving core, it's like, yeah, like it's kind of like the 49ers all over again, but with a much better running back.
Right.
And a much less inexperienced quarterback. But as far as they got a really good tight end, and they got a bunch of nobodies you barely even heard of on the outside. Okay, that doesn't mean they can't catch the ball, run routes, but you're a nobody because you don't put up stats, like, and you don't score points, and you don't get the ball. Like, that's just how it works. And then an upgrade at quarterback, and maybe we'll see a upgrade at running back, downgrade at quarterback. So I really want to be that person that's like, oh, we're gonna knock you in the dirt, but. I've just been too scarred from this, Mike Smith defense the past couple of years where I don't want to have to eat my words. So I am a little worried about it. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Right. If I would bet on it not happening more than I would bet on happening for sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when I first heard the news, I like a lot of Bucs fans was like, hey, cool, we got a rookie quarterback. That's going to make this whole thing easier. And then I remember, the other option was a Eli Manning who probably should have retired this past year.
I would really rather be playing the statue.
Yeah, right.
I would.
Right. Like, and Daniel Jones he's an unknown entity.
Yeah. That has, escapability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Above average escapability.
Right. And youth. And oh, by the way, he was a relatively high draft pick. Let's not forget that too. So this is a kid that I'm not scared about it, but I too have heard those same things that other people have been saying of like, yeah, he could throw for 300 yards. He could win this game by himself this week, blah, 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 blah. And kind of going, my attitude has sort of been, we ought not just overlook this game. You know what I mean?
No.
This is, because I see a lot of people like, oh, rookie quarterback. Yeah, check this one off as a win. Like, we ought not overlook this game. However, the people that are saying Daniel Jones is going to throw for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and
Giants win.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. Maybe in a vacuum, like if they're just looking at what's going on with them, sure, that might be a thing. But then you got to take into account the Todd Bowles defense that we have here in Tampa. And you got to take into account the momentum that they're coming off of these last 2 games as a defense. Where, Ren, I think it was you pointed out on our last episode, or one of our last episodes, that this defense has only allowed the same number of touchdowns that it itself has scored so far this season.
Yeah.
So,
they scored just as many touchdowns as they've given up.
Right.
And our offense have given up twice as many touchdowns as they've given up.
That's true. That's very true. So, it's one of these where I sit back and I think this is probably going to be a better game than a lot of people realize it's going to be. But in no way, shape, or form do I think it's just a slam dunk for the Bucs, but I also don't think that it's just going to be a slam dunk for the Giants. Like, I don't think this is necessarily going to be like his big coming out party, so to speak.
No, I really think it is going to be a slam dunk for the Bucs.
You do?
I do.
I hope so. I really do.
I do too. I just, I don't. Just,
and it could be.
NFL
If they
games
take it seriously,
whole,
they could be. Yeah.
Because NFL games on the whole are always so close. It's like,
true.
okay,
Yeah.
2 minutes left. Somebody has the ball. It's within one score. Somebody's got to stop. Somebody's got to score. Like, that's what happens in 80% of all NFL games,
right,
every single week. So, betting that is the good bet. But I really think it's not that Daniel Jones can't do this or can't do that, but I think a lot of things are going to come at him. I think they're going to try this really short passing game. I think the Bucs are going to be ready for it and have the speed to cover their. I don't think any of the receivers can have the upper hand against our defensive backfield. Mm-hmm. Barkley scares me, yeah, but he scared the first two people they played, and they lost both of those games. One, right. They got blown the hell out by Dallas, and I think the other one. What was the other one? I think they lost to the Jets. I mean,
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but it was but it's not like the Bills. Who have beaten the Giants and the Jets. Mm-hmm. Plant your flag on that. So it's I think they're coming, but the real part of it is the Giants' defense just stinks, man. Mm-hmm. They just stink. They can't cover, and they're really not that good at stopping the run either. And that's probably more to that teams don't run against them because they don't have to. They're just not a good defensive football team.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, we'll see. We'll definitely see. As we continue this, BA, though, something else that probably shouldn't be overlooked, BA in his press conference, I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, had said that they had the best practice that they have had since he's been here. And then he said they had another practice that was right up there as well. So I don't know that there's much news. I don't know if there's much discussion to come off of that. But just to point out, like, I don't know, that gives me warm fuzzies to hear.
I guess the only thing, the nice thing to take away from this is remembering, Dirk Cutter's, what was it, coming off the 9-7, and then, mm-hmm. We had Hard Knocks and we won week 1, and mm-hmm. everyone started reading their own press, and, they were, they just all felt good after the win, and it just didn't feel like they, worked as hard or put the work in, and then, continued to get sort of beat the crap out of and blown out. Mm-hmm. This coaching staff seems to be able to relate to these guys. Something BA said today is he's like they're starting to realize that almost isn't good enough. Mm-hmm. And that, and we'll go back to that Carolina game. Like, sure. if McCaffrey gets that by like 6 inches, we almost won, mm-hmm. but you didn't,
Right.
And that's the difference between 1-1 and having hope and being 0-2 and feeling like your season's over.
I find that phrase really interesting. They're starting to realize that almost isn't good enough.
Yeah.
Which, you talk about he's coming into a situation, and Ren, I'm not meaning to get too much into the culture side of it, but he's coming into a situation and he's making assessments of what's going on. The locker room did not flip a ton, right? So he's dealing with what's happening here, and to think about, he's been around since January, right? Let's sit there and say they're starting to believe this. Like, what does that say? And there's a lot that could be said about the previous regime, maybe even the previous couple of regimes. So, Ren, do you think that these guys have been around for the last bunch of years and just believed that almost was okay?
No, but it's the mindset of. I guess, yeah, like you're saying, like being okay, but here's sort of like I feel how the mindset is. And Vernon Hargreaves said it after the San Francisco game. And it's like, oh, man, that was so close, mm-hmm. Or Vernon Hargreaves could have been happy. I got a pick 6 today. And they went to him like, hey, Vernon, you played really well. And I think first thing out of his mouth, it doesn't matter. We didn't win. Mm-hmm. And that's a difference of being, God, we were supposed to get blown out by the Panthers, and we played them really well. And we almost won. Mm-hmm. We're making strides to being after the Panthers game. If we lost, to being, that's not screw making strides. That mm-hmm. time's over. We have to be there. That is totally unacceptable.
Right.
And that's sort of the difference. It's where nothing else matters except winning.
Right. And so when you hear BA come out and say something like, hey, we've had the best practice that we've had since we've been here, I think that should fire us up, because this means something different, it feels like, with BA than with Cutter coming out and saying, and I think Lovey said the same thing, well, we had a really good week of practice. And then we'd see him after a loss, and you'd see Cam Brate sitting in front of his locker going, I don't know what happened. We had a really good week of practice. I should just get back to it. A good week of practice.
If I knew what the problem was, I'd fix it.
Oh, my gosh. Right? It feels like it has more weight with BA than what we have become used to here in Tampa.
Do you think it has anything? Do you remember we had Lars Anderson on?
Sure.
For the listeners who don't know what I'm talking about, Lars Anderson was the one who co-wrote, ghost-wrote BA's book, The Quarterback Whisperer. We had him on. We did an interview, and if you haven't heard it yet, you got to go back a handful or more episodes, but it's a good listen. And I don't know if he said it on air or if he told it to us, we were just having a conversation off air. And he said, when you've been around BA enough, you get this feeling that you don't want to disappoint him.
Right.
And I wonder if it's sort of that, not that he does it on purpose, has this evil plan. He's like, I talk to people or treat people this way, so they think they don't want to disappoint me, or it's just the natural leadership. It's just the way he is, and you become a natural leader people want to follow, and you don't want to disappoint this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just that every time I hear him talk, I feel like I learned something. I feel like he's not lying to me, and everything's just sort of simple, He just, gets it down to brass tacks. It's like, what's wrong with O.J. Howard? He has to play better football. Go ask him. He's better than that. He needs to play better. Period, end of story. No, he wasn't open here, and Leftwich did it and sort of just kept repeating the same thing. In his presser today or yesterday, the ball didn't find him. He must have said the ball hasn't found him in that Carolina game. He must have said it 7 times.
Right.
And it just kept repeating, and BH just like, hey, you're not playing good enough. And that's the end of it. It's like, yeah, I knew that. OJ knew that. You knew that. Every Bucs fan out there, right. Everyone knows it. You just say it. You're a very talented player. You had a shitty game.
There you go.
Play better.
There you go. And Ren, I'm glad you bring that up, because what I'm going to do is in the show notes, I'm going to link to that episode with the Quarterback Whisperer. So you guys listening to this, if you didn't hear it over the summer, you guys, it's right there in the show notes for this episode. You go back, you can check out that interview that we had with Lars Anderson. He was the co-author, I guess, ghostwriter of BA's book, Quarterback Whisperer. It was really great. We got a lot of really positive feedback off that episode, Ren. So, and it was one of my more favorite interviews I think we've had.
Yeah, it was. I think it was because it was somebody new, and it was somebody who had written a few books, long time magazine SI writer, been around, so he knew how to spin a yarn. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. He's real fun to talk to. Yeah. We didn't have to pull anything out of him. He freely just
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, he's Sports Illustrated, Bleacher Report. He's a professor at University of Alabama now. There's all sorts of stuff. So cool guy to talk to. All right, Shaq Barrett, Ren. Should we bring Shaq Barrett back up into this conversation? Because we talked about him a lot, it seems like, this week. And as a part of that, he won the NFC Defensive Player of the Week award.
Yep.
Good for him. Awesome. Arians predicts that is going to mean he's going to draw more attention from offensive coordinators. He's going to pick up a lot more double teams or chips or blocks or various things like that, creating opportunities maybe for other guys to have a big week. And, what do you think, Ren? Should we not be surprised if Shaq Barrett goes out this week and is relatively quiet?
Well, what do you mean by relatively quiet?
I
mean, if you're asking me that I should not expect 3 sacks, no, you shouldn't, ever, any week, because that kind of performance wins you Defensive Player of the Week.
Right.
So you cannot expect that. I mean, he's had 4 sacks in 3 games. One time he had 1. One game he had 1. One game he had 3. Mm-hmm. I'm not really hip on what the Giants' offensive line is like. Mm-hmm. But, like BA said, I'm not going to be shocked if they put a tight end or chip him with a back over there to sort of, help their left tackle. And if that, helps Sue or Vea or Golson or Nassib or Nelson or Harris.
Are you predicting are you jumping our show and predicting an activation this week, Fred?
Spoiler alert. Or Harris, then more power to you. So I still think he's going to play hard. I still think he's going to pressure. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets a sack. Mm-hmm. I would be surprised if he gets 2, because it's just really hard to do.
Right.
It just is. It doesn't matter how much pressure you put on people. It's just hard to do. Like a lot of things, the chips have to fall your way in a certain play. It's not like you could beat a guy clean, and the quarterback could not see you, but he still gets the ball off in time by 2 steps where you get there.
Right.
That happens all the time. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if his production goes down, but I'm also not going to yell at him if it does, because just that's how it works.
That's how it works. All right, Ren, well, we got one more headline to talk about before we move into looking at the injury report for this Tampa Bay Giants game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New York Giants game. This week, Ronde Barber will be going into the Ring of Honor at Raymond James Stadium. Week 1, I was sitting there and I was, all the names in the Ring of Honor so far are on the east side of the stadium. Like, they've all been putting them over there on that side. And I was looking at it. There's only 2 spots left. And with Ronde going up now, there's only 1 spot left on that side before they, I guess, have to start moving them over to the west side. But should be a good time. The Buccaneers, I don't know that I can say that I remember if they've ever won a Ring of Honor, at least not in recent memory, a Ring of Honor game. So I'm looking forward to breaking that. But my question for you then is, there's 1 more spot left up over there. A lot of people have been kind of throwing these questions out there, but who?
I'm so tired of these questions. It's like every year we have this we have this debate every year. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure. No,
please
but
continue.
Well, apparently I don't even need to ask the question. You know exactly where I'm going with that. But Ronde's going in. Who's next?
James Wilder.
James Wilder. Sticking with him.
The same guy I've given the past 3 years.
Fair enough.
It's James Wilder. And if you don't know why, go look up his stats. He's a leading rusher. He's still the leading receiver by amount of catches. Like, I'll put it to you this way, everybody. James Wilder was our Christian McCaffrey, or our Barkley. He wasn't as fast as Barkley, and he was stronger than McCaffrey. So he sat kind of in between there. Maybe call him our Kamara.
Okay.
Like, it was give him the ball on first down, run it right, give him the ball on second down, run it left, throw it to him on third down, first down, start all over again. I mean, he holds. I'm almost positive he holds.
Lose the game.
Oh yeah, lose the game by a lot. But I know when he was playing, he had the NFL record for most touches in a season. He was the total offense with a bunch of quarterbacks that you don't remember who they are, and you really got to be a hardcore Bucs fan to remember these wide receivers. It was like Kevin House and Mark Carrier maybe. And
there's a name I know.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Carrier was there. It was probably just like Kevin House and I can't even a bunch of white guys, which it's terrible in the 80s. So it's James. It'll always be. It used to be Paul Gruber. Gruber got in. It's James Wilder. It'll be James Wilder till James Wilder gets in, because he deserves to be in.
Yeah,
he just does.
Right. I'm with you. All right. Well, Ren, with that, why don't we go ahead and transition? Let's look at this injury report here coming in. We'll start with the Giants. There is one person who is on there out. Cody Lattimore is a wide receiver, is out with a concussion. Is he one of their number 1, number 2 wide receivers up there? Or do you know? Awesome. Kind of the same thing for the rest of the guys. Benny Fowler is listed as questionable, and then a bunch of other guys. One name that I do recognize on this injury report for them, though, who was full participation, but he did have a concussion, I guess, over the last couple of weeks. Sterling Shepard, former Buccaneer.
No,
I
made that. Yeah, I made that. I couldn't remember that guy's name.
No, this is a different guy. Are you serious?
Yeah, that's not. You're thinking Russell Shepard.
No, Sterling Shepard. He used to play for the Buccaneers.
Russell Shepard?
We did, but we also had a Sterling Shepard.
Is he? Are you sure?
I promise you we had a Sterling Shepard. Yes.
All right. I'm sure we're going to get tagged and yelled at on Twitter for this one.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm looking it up.
All right.
Right now.
Because I know, like, a handful of pods ago, I said Sterling Shepard because I couldn't remember Russell Shepard's name. And no one said anything to me, because maybe Sterling Shepard was a Buccaneer. But, yeah, if Sterling Shepard is, like, the guy, I mean, he's sort of the guy that everybody knows. And he's, I guess, their number 1 receiver. And if he's your number 1 receiver, you don't really have that much to worry about. You're not exactly scheming the defense to stop him.
No, you're right. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, not this guy. I swear we've had a Sterling Shepard on this team before, though.
You just play that on loop.
You're forever. Right, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out, because now that's gonna bug me, because I swear we had a Sterling Shepard. Although I gotta admit, I thought he was on the other side of the ball. I thought he was somebody email us into thepewtercast@gmail.com. Clear this up for us.
Somebody do my work.
Yeah, somebody do my work for me and let me know. Chris from VA, you're probably all over it, or Javier or somebody. All right, but let's talk about the team that we really do want to talk about, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yo!
Let's see here. Blaine Gabbert is still out with his left shoulder injury. He will be out this game. Jamel Dean, from an ankle injury, suffered during the past game. He is out as well.
I'm glad it's an ankle.
Yeah.
That would have been like his, fourth knee problem.
Would it?
Yeah, he had he blew his knee out twice in high school and once at Ohio State.
Oh, my.
And then that's how he ended up at Auburn, because they're like, oh well, that's 3 knee surgeries for you. See you later. And then Auburn picked him up, and he was healthy his Auburn career, but that's just that's not exactly a stellar medical history. Right. But I'm glad it's an ankle instead of a knee.
I'm glad he screwed up his ankle. Devontae Bond is out with a hamstring injury.
Yep.
And was out all week, did not participate at all, so we assume that happened during the game last week. But also Devin White, he did not participate. He will be out. Doctors say, or the Buccaneers report anyway, that he has a grade 1 MCL sprain, but he is day-to-day. They don't give us any kind of timeline for how long he'll be out. So Devin White's out, and I guess that means Kevin Minter is our guy, Ren?
Yep, Kevin Minter's our guy.
So he's not inactive.
He will not be inactive. Yeah, he will be playing. I'm still a little worried about Kevin. I'm not worried about Kevin Minter in the run game. I'm worried about Kevin Minter, covering Evan Ingram on those seams and crosses. I thought he had sort of a rough game. BA didn't think so as much. And, I guess that's fair because of the 2 long passes that Olsen caught in the Panthers game. BA said at a press conference one time it was Whitehead. Greg Allman also said that our show that one was Whitehead. And, it was just miscommunication with the other one where he was supposed to go with Olsen and he let him go and there was no one there. But plus, he also had an interception that, was called back on a ticky-tack call. What a shock, ticky-tack call in the NFL. So, yeah, I'm okay with Minter being there. Actually, I think, from what I've seen from White, and I'm not saying that White's better than Minter. I'm just saying that at this point in his career, I feel better about Kevin Minter sort of in the run game.
All right.
The way he's got the experience, and it seems to be he reading the play a little faster. It looks like the process for Devin White for me on the runs is not as quick as I was expecting. All
right, Ren, well, let's look at the rest of the injury report. Actually, we have quite a few people on the injury report this week, Ren, but the rest of these guys are either full participation or basically they're going to play this weekend. Bo Allen was on the injury report with a heat-related injury, it says, but he was full participation the last 2 days of the week. Shaq Barrett he had a groin earlier, but then he also had a not injury-related day off. I guess he took Friday off, which put him on the injury report, but it was just not injury related. So I don't know what's going on with him in his personal life or what's happening, or if he just got a
Veterans Day, a vet day.
Yeah, vet day. Hey, you had 3 sacks. Take it easy for today. Ryan Jensen has a shoulder injury, but he was full participation all week. Carl Nassib has a calf injury. He was full participation most of the week. Nacho is dealing with a finger, which was that from the Panthers game or was that the 49ers game?
I think it was the 49ers game.
Yeah. Breshad Perriman is dealing with a quad injury, and he was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, but he went full go on Friday. And then rounding out the injury report, Ren, and kind of saving the best for last, I guess, or worst for last, Jameis Winston is on the injury report this week with a foot injury. He was full participation all week, so nothing really much to worry about. But that is our injury report for the week going in. So we'll see how that may or may not affect the game coming in to the Giants. But Ren, this is the part that everybody this episode has been waiting for. It is time to delay no further. Predicting the inactives, Ren. You've already got 4 that were given to you. You got Bond, Dean, Gabbert, and White who are out. Yep. I need 3 more from you, my friend. Who do you got?
We need some intro music. No, I mean real intro music. I didn't mean... In the future, we should drop some intro music right here. Thanks, though. Appreciate that.
I give you a kazoo.
Yeah. White, Gabbert, Bond, Dean, just like you said. And then, of course, the 2 offensive linemen. I am activating Watford and sitting Bailey as my interior offensive lineman, Zach Bailey. And I am activating Hawkins and sitting Wells as the tackle. Now, I got it down
you got one more.
I know. I got it down to Miller, Double A, Andrew Adams, our second president of the United States, or Tanner Hudson.
You think there's a? Oh, I'm sorry. Before you even get this,
sure.
What is the thought process behind Andrew Adams even being a potential on this list? Because I don't understand that one. The other two I fully get. I don't understand Andrew Adams with Justin Evans going on IR this past week.
Right. They've
brought him in. He's not. It's not like he just got signed yesterday. Like he's been around for about a week now.
Yep.
Why is he a possibility on this list?
Well, it's not a great reason. Okay. But he was an active.
Because you didn't vote for him for president. That's why.
I didn't.
You voted for the other guy.
I don't like his politics. He came to my county and my town and put a 3% tax on my tobacco crop. So you're out of here, buddy. He wasn't active last week.
Right.
He ran with 3 safeties. It is a position that you can run lesser guys because of a player like Buchanan who can go back there in a pinch, and maybe even just MJ Stewart. But I kind of think that's sort of that's it might just run with 1 safety besides doing that.
Right.
So that's why he's there. Now, spoiler alert, I'll get right to it. Adams is starting.
Okay.
Or not starting, but he's going to make the cut. And it's mostly because there's so many players that are out,
Right.
That's why he's vacant. So that brings me down to Miller and Hudson.
Yep.
Now, I'm hoping that this staff wants to see Miller with that deep ball speed threat, see what they have in him. It's a good week to bring him up because you're not really sitting anybody you don't have to. Because the other two, there's 4 that are out, and the other 2 guys, like you normally sit them anyway. You sit one of your interior offensive linemen, and you sit your tackle. You got 2 to choose from. So this is a perfect time to bring Miller up because you just don't need Hudson. It's just more of a feel-good story, It doesn't matter. He's not going to get in front of Brate, Howard, or Auclair. He's just not. He's only there in case there's an injury, and then he'll get moved up. So all the upside is for Miller to see what he can do, get some reps. Now I know that besides the big 3, not, Watson or Bobo Wilson really haven't got many plays as far as, in the receiver position. They're getting plenty of reps or, plenty of snaps as special teams. So I'm not saying look for Miller, this game in some special packages. Maybe if we get up big, they might throw him in there to see what he can do. But my last guy in the most long-winded way possible is going to be Tanner Hudson.
Ren, you and I are point for point down the line on this one this week.
What?
Yep, we are. We are.
I can't take the lead.
No. This is we will remain tied one way or the other come this week. But I'm with you on every single one of those. Bailey and Wells as well. Hudson. I don't know what kind of special teams value Miller brings over Hudson, or if we'd even see them play special teams. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, there's another thing.
Well, because you've got White who plays special teams. I think sometimes Gabbert, or I'm sorry, not Gabbert, but White, Dean and Bond both play special teams.
Yeah.
So, who's the guy to replace them in their role?
Well, B.A. actually said in the last presser, the one on the field, he said Damone Harris is going to be up and he said for special teams. Oh, and he's going to play some defensive end too.
Right.
But that's the real reason. He's going to replace Bond wherever he is, on the special teams thing. But with Dean going down to Miller's speed, he might be an outside gunner.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they feel about him running down there and tackling somebody. All 5'2", 109 pounds of him. But that'd be something to look for. I'd be interested to see that. See actually him get to use his speed in like a 50-yard, 60-yard sprint.
There you go. All right, Ren. Well, that is it, man. That's gonna bring us to the end of this particular game, episode as well. By the way, just to go back to it, Sterling Moore used to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
Not Sterling Shepard. That's who I was trying to think of.
All right.
And I don't know why I got the two. It was a long time ago. He played for 1 year. Came in under Lovey. All right. Anyway, Ren. I told you, man, I'm in pain. I don't know what I'm doing.
Play the loop.
Take us out of here. Any final thoughts as we head into this Bucs versus Giants game? And when you're done with that, just tell the folks where they can find you on the internet.
the key to stopping Barkley is going to hinge on Whitehead. If Whitehead leads the team in tackles, it should be good for us because they're playing him close to the line of scrimmage, and he's the one sort of shooting the gaps, especially on the outside. It looks like his responsibility in a Todd Bowles defense as of right now is that last gap between the tackle and the tight end, and pretty much everything to the sideline. Like that's his thing. We saw him come up and stop Cam Newton early on the 4th and 1 in the Panthers game. He led the team in tackles in the San Francisco game because of him coming up. They weren't Vernon Hargrave's tackles where they're 7, 8, 9, 10 yards downfield. They were near the line of scrimmage. So if Whitehead leads the team in tackles or is close to it, then that means that Barkley probably didn't have or at least the Bucs contained him. He didn't go off and do great things for the Giants there. So that's my last thought, something to look at. Whitehead, make tackles. You can find me on Twitter. It's always the best way, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk some Buccaneers football.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And the show is at The Pewtercast on Twitter and on Facebook. And you can send us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We will read that on a future episode of The Pewtercast. Well, Ren, with that, the only thing I can say is, hey, listen, you guys make sure you be on the lookout for our next episode, which will be an instant cast. Ren will be going live with a special guest. You can find him at youtube.com/thepewtercast after the game on Sunday evening. About 10 o'clock, Ren? 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. We'll see. You guys,
10 o'clock.
You guys go over there. You can subscribe, hit the little bell notification to be notified when we go live. And so you guys will have that. Of course, the chat room will be open and all of those good things. I will personally be on the road, which is why I won't be there because it's a night game, and it's one of those things that throws our whole schedule off. So, Ren, that's it. Going to be it for us for tonight. We'll go ahead and get out of here. Bucs versus the Giants is the next thing that we will see, and it is the next thing we'll talk about as we roll on here through the 2019 season. And so until then, guys, we'll close the show out. As always, go Bucs!